Patti LaBelle, she's up next. We're talking about Divas with Books. That's right, my book club, Divas with Books. And we're talking about Patti LaBelle and David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas. Patti LaBelle and David Nathan, they're up next. Let's talk. Sorry about that, you guys. Welcome back over here to my channel, Pepe's Point of View, and I'm your host. I'm your R&B historian, Pepe, and today we're talking about Divas with Books. That's right, the book club, Divas with Books, and I have for you today David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas. I forgot that I had not covered all of the R&B divas or all of the divas in his book. So I want to do that real quick. Also, Divas with Books is my book club. I have not yet decided how I want to get around and talk about that and how I want you guys to participate in that with me. Still working on it. Got other things that are top priority right now. But right now we have over here Gladys Knight book, Between Each Line of Pain and Glory. I think I'm probably going to read some of that today and talk to you guys about some of it. I have not finished this book. I know Faith Evans, keep the faith with all of the things going on with Diddy right now, you know, and all of the people. Yeah, Faith Evans, but keep the faith. We also have Joyce Fenderalla Irby's book, I Still Say Yes, as well as Sister Soldier's book, The Coldest Winter Ever. Rap diva, Sister Soldier. But anyway, so those are the books, as well as David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas, all right? I am not affiliated with these individuals at all. I'm not getting paid or anything for this. It's just my way of learning more about my divas. Sorry about that. So anyway, let's just go head on and jump right into it, if you will. We're going to be discussing, and I don't know what just happened. Something has happened. And I don't know how it got out of whack, but that's all right. We're going to work on that. You know how I feel. Some things I edit out, some things I don't. You know, it's just how I feel. Shoot over here. But we're going to work out the kinks. Just give me a minute to work out the kinks, okay? Ooh. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I have not read this, so I am going to I'm reading this chapter in David Nathan's book for the first time. So, you know, I might have, you know, additional things that I want to cover. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for staying there with me. I'm looking. I think we got it. I think we're almost there. I think I'm there. That's right. Patti LaBelle. And David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas. Let's see what David has to say, okay? All right. I think I'm focused. Now we can discuss it. So it says here, Patti LaBelle probably doesn't remember saying it, but she was in her usual truth-telling mode in the spring of 1980. In one of the many interviews she and I've done for Blues and Soul over the past 25 years, it's time to really kick butt. But she didn't say butt. I can't let people walk over me anymore. I've given all I can give. Now it's up to everyone else to run with the music and make it work. Invest in me. Realize the potential that's there. Honey, I know what you mean when you say that, Patti LaBelle. A few more years would pass before that potential began to be fulfilled and before Patti LaBelle became a household name, which she did by the late 1980s. But by the time she made that statement on the eve of the release of her fourth and last solo album for Epic Records, Patricia Edwards had been singing professionally for 21 years through various incarnations from the 1960s, almost doo-wop like bluebells to the glamorous rock and soul pioneering style of the 1970s trio LaBelle. When Patti LaBelle finally emerged as a superstar in her own right, as a diva known for her earthy funkiness and high octave vocal range, she was drawn from a rich musical history. Her body of work encompassed everything from the 19th century Irish era Danny Boy to the overly get you up in the gut style of former partner Nona Hendrix, You Turn Me On. Along the way, Patty acquired a new attitude, a new nose, and a certain sophistication, as well as lost a number of family members to cancer and close friends to AIDS. But one on one, she never stopped being an in your face, down home Philly girlfriend. At a London restaurant in January 1975, Patty was with Nona and Sarah Dash, her two LaBelle sisters, and Vicky Wickham, the miracle working manager. Wickham, who was also the former producer at Britain's 1960s favorite television show, Ready, Steady, Go, had transformed this sometime hit girl group into pioneering soulful space children. You seem kind of suppressed, and unsmiling Nona said without a blink, we've met only once before in New York, with a few months earlier, I was on my first visit to the United States. Nona continued, like repressed or something. I wasn't sure how to respond because, as a fledgling journalist, I wasn't used to having my interview subjects analyze my personality. Patty softened the blow just a little. You need to lighten up, honey. Let loose, let go, release yourself. She chirped. Sarah was eating, listening, and saying nothing. I was embarrassed and got out only a meek, okay. A few weeks later, at my official leaving the United Kingdom party, I figured they would be proud of me in all silver with a feather in my uh, bussy Afro style hair in tribute to the impact LaBelle was having on me then. A few days later, LaBelle performed for the first time at London's Lyceum, giving British audiences a chance to hear Lady Marmalade, the group's soon-to-be gold record and first and only pop and R&B chart topper. Patty wanted someone to come up and dance with the group. She spied me in the wings and decided that she was going to force me to lighten up. As she literally pulled me on stage, I protest wildly and summoned up every piece of rhythm I could muster. I was soon dancing in the light with Patty, all decked out in futuristic gear and freeing myself to be myself as if I had no choice. Patti LaBelle's 1986 interview in Blues and Soul, she explained that the group was doing 5 shows a day, 7 days a week, and if they cleared $1,000 a week, they considered themselves successful. It was in the early 1960s when black girl groups were in vogue. The Ronettes, the Chiffons, and the Shirelles had all been constant hit makers, and the musical climate was good for members of female trios and quartets in their tight-fitting gowns, high heels, and buffet wigs. Or is it Buffon wigs? I'm sorry, y'all. Can't see. The Bluebells were busy blowing other groups off the stage with their vocal power, performing on the Chitlin circuit and appearing at theaters like the Apollo in New York and Fox in Detroit, the Howard in Washington, D.C., and the Regal in Chicago. The group's raw energy, front of its fast-growing audience, was captured and taped when Atlantic Records cut one of the R&B package shows that crisscrossed the country, called Saturday Night at the Uptown. After the Philadelphia theater where the recordings was made, After the Philadelphia theater where the recordings were made, one hot night in July 1964, the bill was filled with favorites, including the hometown girls, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. The Drifters headline, preceded by the Vibrations, And other artists on the bill included Barbara, You'll Lose a Good Thing, Lynn, Up and Coming Wilson Pickett, another female group, Patty and the Emblems, and the Cartons. One listen to the final album, and there's no question about who stole the show that night. 6 months later, Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells were featured once again on a live recording of popular New York DJ Murray the K's holiday show, issued through Atlantic. Cut on December 30th, 1964, at the famous Brooklyn Fox Theater, the record of the hit Phil Bill featured Patti LaBelle in the group The Shangri-Las, Benny King, The Drifters, The Shirelles, Chuck Jackson, and 24-year-old Dionne Warwick. Oh my gosh. This is me saying that. Oh my gosh. I mean, Dionne Warwick is just a down home, like singing diva. And in my opinion, she has not gotten the vocal recognition that she should. And this is me saying that, not David. The group's performances captured on tape indicative of its growing reputation as one of the hottest live acts in the R&B world must have convinced the people of Atlantic Records that signing the quartet might prove to be a smart move. After two critically acclaimed but commercial failures for Warner Brothers, a second album, Moonshadow, gave Nono more exposure as a thoughtful, insightful lyricist. The group headed to RCA in 1973 for the one-off pressure cooking album. Even with a helping hand from the one from none other than, Stevie Wonder, who wrote the song and performed on another bill under the alias Simply as Friend. The LP didn't register on mass scale, although at this stage in the group's development, it had built a strong loyal following, mostly on the East Coast of the United States, particularly among Black and Hispanic gay men. In 1971, collaboration with popular singer-songwriter Laura Nyro on her best-selling Gonna Take America LP, a collection of mostly classic R&B hits that were among Nyro's personal favorites, on which the trio sang background vocals, helped heighten awareness among Nyro's own hip cross-cultural audiences. By the time Pressure Cooking was released, the trio was decked out in several spacesuits, breastplates, feathers, and other. One commentator called outrageous drag. Long gone were the sequence of the Bluebell days. Thanks to the avant-garde approach of designer Larry Legaspi, the Bell looked like no other female group. The cult following was growing thanks to highly original material like known as Can I Speak to You Before You Go to Hollywood, and covers of the showstoppers like Gil Scott Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Sorry, you guys, I'm trying to move up a little further. Patti LaBelle was on a roll. I used to think it was ego to believe that you were good. Fortunately, I got over that. I realize now that there's nothing wrong with being confident. It's about knowing what you are, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm great. I'm a decent performer, and I don't think I've been given the credit, and that might be because I've been putting myself at the effect of other people. I'm determined not to let that happen. The same way I'm determined to have that recognition that comes from your peers through things like awards. I almost feel like I deserve an award for endurance. Go ahead on, Patty. Whatever feeling Patty was expressing were the result of events that had unfolded the previous year. I spent 8 months without work, partly due to the way the industry was and the fact that concerts generally weren't doing great businesses, but also because some of my fellow artists wouldn't let me open for them. I figured they canceled because they were scared. I've encountered that before, but it makes me very mad. I've, in some of those cases where it happened last year, the performers were headlining after being hot with one or two hits, and obviously their level of professionalism was pretty low. In fact, I refer to them as rats, which is star backwards. It wasn't so much as financial thing for me as the fact that I really dig the energy from the people. Not having a hit record at the time, I couldn't necessarily go out and headline everywhere myself, particularly since disco had definitely influenced the way concert audiences were happening. That coupled with the great, that coupled with the general economic situation. So I was thoroughly mad that some of my so-called colleagues felt so insecure that they wouldn't let me work with them. Too many people find themselves out there after one hit record and they are just totally unprepared. Woo, okay, Patty, I think I know where I'm going. You know, this is my first time reading this chapter on Patty LaBelle, and you guys also must know, you have to know this, um, is that when I think about Patty LaBelle, hold on for a second, I'm about to do something. All right, you guys, I'm back from reading that book on David Nathan's, that chapter on in David Nathan's book, The Soulful Divas. And the reason why I cut off, this is my first time reading this chapter. And sometimes I never know where I'm going with anything. Sometimes over here, if you follow me enough, then you know I like to go with the flow, you know. I think the lesson in this particular chapter for me right now, when I think about Patty LaBelle's career, all right, and if you follow Patty LaBelle's career, then you know one thing about Patty LaBelle is that she is known for putting on a great show. I said it once before, I'm going to say it again. Patty LaBelle to me would be that, and she doesn't like to be called diva anymore, so I'm going to respect that. She's going to be that singer, that songstress, that entertainer. Is that when she leaves here, you're going to know she left everything on that stage. I mean, every day she gave it all she had. Now, I don't know if she did that to prove a point to people and to try to, how can I say it, impress people. I'm not sure if that's why she did it. I'm not sure if she did it because, you know what, I got the opportunity, and so I'm going to make sure that I maximize it. Or if she got on that stage and she gave it all she got because she knew that people were jealous of her and they didn't like her talent. They didn't like her voice. You see what I'm saying? It was kind of like, oh, I don't want to work with you because you're going to upstage me, you know? And it's kind of like, can you, you know, these things have been discussed, you know, about Patty LaBelle before. You know, when I think about, you know, the show Sisters in the Name of Love, and when she made mention that Dionne Warwick was like, hey, to Gladys, can you talk to Patty for a second? She's kind of drowning me out here. You know, she's singing too loud, you know, so on and so forth. And it's almost like, how can I put it? In the case of, I'm going to say, a Dionne Warwick, throughout the years, that could be one as seen as by her, and I'm looking at from Dionne's standpoint now. It could have been one as professional courtesy. All right, Patty, you know, we're singing together. You know, I'm not trying to be in competition with you. I want to sing with you, but don't drown me out. You see, that's probably Dionne's approach with it. Do you understand? And doesn't know how to convey that to Patty without stepping on Patty's toes. So let me say this to Gladys. And we all know that they pretty much, you can say, there are three good friends, especially Patty and Gladys. Do you see where I'm going with this? But when I think about someone such as a Gladys Knight over here, Gladys Knight seems to be very confident, a very confident singer. Like, she knows what she can and what she can't do. And to me, Gladys has a certain presence about herself, a stage presence about herself, that if you think she's coming off, if you think she is timid or intimidated, dated by someone, she doesn't show it on the stage. You know, when she's around other divas, it's like, and I got up here and I'm doing my thing. I know what I can do. You know what I'm saying? I got this. I'm in my lane, so on and so forth. But that's true when you do think about it. But you got to also look at this a lot of ways when I'm thinking about, excuse me, Patti LaBelle in her voice, and how many times, you know, I can say I resonate with this as well. It's kind of like, oh, well, you're going to upstage me. You know, sometimes you think like, okay, are you not asking me because you feel as if I intimidate you, you know, and so therefore you don't ask me to do certain things, you see? And it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter if you do or don't. I know that I'm worthy of it, you see. And the thing about with Patti that I love most about her career, how it evolved over time, is that whether she had a hit song or a hit album or not, eventually got to the point, especially in the early 80s, even though she was saying in her book that a lot of people were not calling on her to go out and do shows, so on and so forth, is because they were intimidated by her and what have you, you know, in her shows, and that she would upstage them. The good part about all of that is that what does Patti do in the process? She creates a lane for herself. So by her, like, nah, yeah, it hurt my feelings. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that I should be bigger, and I know that I should be doing more. I should have the awards that everybody else is getting, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, now you finally get to the point where you're saying to yourself, you're just intimidated by me. You want to shut me up. You want to make me be quiet. You're afraid to get on the stage and sing beside me because, do you see what I'm saying? Because it's kind of weird when you think about it. Oh, let me slow this thought down so I can say it accurately. If you're on a stage with Patti LaBelle and she's singing, right, you have two things you can do. You can either sit there and admire what she's doing on that stage, right? And be like, man, like, Patti can sing. She can really well. She can really let it go. Like, you can sit there and go, you can be amazed by her gift and her talent, right? And just say, all right, go ahead on, Patti, you doing your thing, so on and so forth, right? You could be that person on the stage with her. Or you can be the person on the stage that tries to what? Outshine her and sing louder than her, like, oh my gosh, I can't let Patti upstage me. And I don't know if in Patti's head is she saying, I got to outsing this heifer. You know, I don't think that's what she's saying. But at the same time, it's kind of like, wait a minute. I got to go there now. You know, it's just time. This is when I got to do Patti, you know, things, so on and so forth. It has nothing to do with you, because again, her audience is going to feel left short, right? So if Patti LaBelle is on the stage and all of a sudden we're looking like, okay, Patti, this is what we came to see you do, you know, and now you got the public looking at Patti like, oh, okay, she held back, and then you got people giving their points of view about what the show looked like. Okay, man, I'm just talking about another R&B artist or another singer. That singer can be on the stage and say, man, she showed this, show up, this, so-and-so. All she can do is just sit there, you know, because what you got? Do you see what I'm saying? People can look at it like that, or other people can say, oh, look at this particular person, how she praised us, so on and so forth. But now when it was time for you to do what we like about you and what you're going to do, you do that and you do it well. I think that that's the thing about it. I think we all have to be comfortable in who we are, whose we are, and whom we serve. You see where I'm going with that? And so Patti, in the midst of all of that, still creating an audience and a following for herself is pretty much basically where I'm going with this. theme. And I have to agree, even with myself, I'm at that point now where I'm basically saying, I know my self-worth. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying to myself right now is the time. You know what, people, you know, in my life, or people, you know, needs to now start to invest in me. But, you know, you want the right people investing in you. I just don't want any partnerships with people. Do you understand? So you see it that way. Then you realize when you're not being asked to do certain things or to be a part of certain things, you're definitely thinking like, wait a minute. That person is not doing anything different than what I'm doing. I mean, there's some differences in that, but at the same time, like, yeah, I'm doing exactly what those people are doing, but you know you're not being called upon to do them. And it's kind of like, I know that I am not chopped liver. So, you know, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe they don't want you to shine. Maybe they feel like, you know, you're going to, you know, upstage them. You can, you know, you're going to take their shine, you know, so on and so forth. Yeah. And so, and then you doing that, and in you staying consistent. Guess what Patty has done for herself? I mean, she's definitely built a legacy. And even though some people can say at this moment in time, oh, and I've heard people say this before, like, oh gosh, I'm not going to a Patti LaBelle show. Oh gosh, I just don't want to hear her and doing all that hollering and yelling and screaming and all that stuff. I don't want to hear all of that. But a person such as myself is like, yay, do it, Patty, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. You know, so it is what it is. Yeah. So again, she's that singer who she took the gift, she swallowed it, chewed it up, and said, and spit it out like, baby, that gift is, I used that, baby. Trust me, I used it. He's like, really? You know, it's like, I used it. So on that note, I think Patty can be an inspiration to all of us and to everyone out there who have found themselves in this particular situation. Like, hey, I know that I'm good. I know that I'm worthy. It's time for people to finally invest in me, right? Not only that, to see the talent, so on and so forth. I'm looking at everybody else and I'm like, really? Come on. Really? You know, but then she's creating a lane for herself. So continue. And I think this is a good place to stop, because you already know over here, my motto is very, very simple over here. And that is to put your behind where your heart desires to be. That's right. And if you have made it this far in my commentary, I think it's only appropriate for me to ask you guys to hit the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, so on and so forth. And this is a prime example. I know people watch. I know that. I know that it is what it is. You see what I'm saying? So, but you still have to do and put your behind where your heart desires to be, because, again, you're doing it because this is something that you love doing. Whether or not if people acknowledge you or not, you know what, the Lord is going to definitely see you through. You know, you're going to be happy. You know, you're going to shine, so on and so forth. It's just what it is. You understand what I'm saying? You're creating an audience and a lane for yourself. Woo! See, that's why I love what I do. And speaking of that, whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says, baby, I love you, but remember, God loves you best. I look forward to seeing you guys next video. And until then, you should know what to do by now. Take care of yourselves. All right. Talk to you.